Laughter filled my sister's new living room, warm and bright under the hanging lights. I stood near the snack table, trying to balance a paper plate and my nerves. Sophie's housewarming party was in full swing. Friends, coworkers, even her landlord mingling among the boxes she still hadn't unpacked. Everything looked perfect until she opened her mouth. "I told Lena she can stay with me till she gets back on her feet," Sophie said loudly, grinning over her wine glass. "Rent's not cheap, right?" The crowd laughed. Someone clapped. My face burned. It wasn't true. I hadn't asked to stay with her. She begged me. I managed a stiff smile, pretending the joke didn't sting, but my chest tightened as whispers circled. I caught words like broke and lucky sister. Sophie's laugh cut through them all. Then a firm knock sounded at the door. The laughter faded. Sophie blinked, confused. Her landlord, Mr. Bell, stood in the doorway holding a folder. "Excuse me," he said politely. "I need to confirm who's on the lease." My stomach twisted. Around me, people exchanged glances. Sophie's confident smile wavered. He looked straight at me. "Miss Lena Evans?" The room froze. The landlord stepped inside, papers in hand. His tone was calm but firm. "I just need the tenant listed here, Miss Lena Evans, to sign an update form." Every eye turned to me. Sophie's wineglass trembled, splashing crimson drops onto the beige rug. "There must be some mistake," she whispered. "It's my apartment." Mr. Bell shook his head and pointed to the document. "The lease shows Miss Evans as the primary tenant. We only need her signature to finalize the parking permit." A hush swept through the room. Someone coughed. Someone else whispered, "Wait, she's the tenant?" Sophie's face went pale. I felt the heavy silence press against my ribs. I think we can handle this later," she stammered, ushering him toward the door, but he was already flipping to the page with my name printed clearly in bold letters. "I'll need your signature tomorrow, Miss Evans. Just drop by the office." The door shut softly behind him. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then murmurs broke out again, sharper this time. Sophie stared at me, eyes wide as if I'd just stolen something from her. And in that moment, everyone realized the lease was mine. 2 months earlier, things had been different. Sophie had shown up at my apartment with red eyes and shaking hands. "Please, Lena, my credit's a mess. They won't approve me for a lease. I just need your name on it, temporarily." I remembered her words exactly. "You'll be helping me until I get back on track." I believed her. She was my big sister. We grew up sharing clothes, secrets, and late-night instant noodles. Helping her felt natural. When the papers came, I signed them. She promised to pay half the rent every month, swearing she'd never put me in a bad spot. For the first few weeks, everything seemed fine. She decorated the place, hosted dinners, and told everyone how lucky she was to have me nearby. Then her payments stopped coming. "Work's been slow," she said. "I'll catch up next month." I let it slide once, then twice. Family, I reminded myself. She'd never take advantage of me. But as I stood at that party, remembering her tears from 2 months ago, something cold settled in my stomach. She hadn't just needed my help. She'd planned this, and she'd never paid a single cent of rent. By the next morning, everyone in Sophie's circle seemed to know her version of the story. My phone buzzed nonstop, messages from her coworkers, half curious, half pitying. "Hey, heard you're staying with Sophie for a bit. Hope things get better soon. Rent's tough these days. You're lucky to have such a generous sister." I scrolled through social media and found the post that started it all. A smiling selfie of us at her kitchen counter. Caption, "When you help your broke little sister, family first." The comments were worse. "Such a good sister. She's always been kind." Someone even tagged me. "Hang in there, Lena. Things will turn around." My throat tightened. None of them knew the truth, that I was paying the rent, that the apartment legally belonged to me, but explaining would make me sound bitter or jealous. Sophie's followers adored her selfless big sister act. I set my phone down, trembling. My humiliation had gone public overnight. Each notification felt like a slap. Then, buried in the comments, one friend asked, "Wait, isn't Lena the one on the lease?" No one replied. I stared at that question for a long time, heart hammering. That night, when the guests were gone and the dishes stacked in the sink, I faced Sophie in the kitchen. "Why would you post that?" I asked, trying to keep my voice even. She didn't look up from wiping the counter. "Post what?" "I mean, you told everyone I'm broke. You made me sound like some charity case." Sophie chuckled, the sound brittle. "Oh, come on, it's just a joke. Lighten up. People know I was kidding." "No, they don't," I said quietly. "You humiliated me." Her smile faltered for a second, then returned smaller and meaner. "You're so sensitive, Lena. Maybe that's why people walk over you." The words hit harder than I expected. For years, I'd let her control the story, always the confident one, always right. But something inside me shifted that night. I nodded slowly. "You're right about one thing. People have walked over me." She smirked, thinking she'd won. But while she poured another glass of wine, I slipped into my room, opened my phone, and started taking screenshots. Every post, every message, every transfer receipt. If she wanted to play games, I'd finally learned the rules. Tomorrow, I decided, the documenting would begin. I woke up early the next morning, the house still quiet except for the hum of the fridge. I sat at the small table with my coffee and opened my laptop. Every photo, every caption, every text Sophie had sent about me, I saved them all. I wasn't sure why yet, but my gut told me I'd need proof. For years, I had been the nice one, the helper, the one who forgave easily, but not anymore. I opened a new bank account that Sophie didn't know about. I started setting aside money each week, planning my way out. A few days later, the phone rang. It was Mr. Bell, the landlord. His voice sounded uneasy. "Miss Evans, I wanted to ask when you plan to pay the rest of this month's rent. We haven't received anything for 2 months." My stomach flipped. "That can't be right. I've been transferring the money to Sophie every month." He paused. "Then she hasn't been paying it forward." I thanked him and hung up, my hands shaking. In the other room, Sophie was singing along to music, cheerful as ever. I stared at the payment receipts on my screen and whispered, "What have you done, Sophie?" The clock ticked louder. I already knew the answer. The next morning, I asked Sophie for the rent receipt. "Mr. Bell says we're 2 months behind." She blinked, then smiled too quickly. "Oh, he must have misplaced the payment. I'll text him later." "Show me the receipt," I pressed. She reached into a drawer and handed me a crumpled paper. The logo looked slightly wrong, the date smudged. Something about it felt fake. When she left for work, I drove straight to Mr. Bell's office. He looked surprised to see me, but listened patiently as I laid the paper on his desk. "This isn't one of ours," he said. "We switched to digital receipts last year, and there's no record of payment under your account." I felt my chest tighten. "Has she said anything about changing the lease?" He nodded slowly. "Actually, yes, she's been asking how to transfer it into her own name. I told her she'd need your written consent." I left his office numb, the wind cold against my face. She hadn't just lied, she'd tried to erase me completely. As I sat in my car, I promised myself this would be the last time she used me. The game she started was about to turn on her. That night, I confronted her, no shouting, no warning. I placed the fake receipt on the counter. "You forged this," I said quietly. Her eyes flicked to it, then to me. "You're overreacting." I went to the landlord. "You tried to put the lease in your name." Her jaw tightened. "You'll move out eventually. It's my apartment anyway." For a second, I just stared at her. The sister I'd once trusted now looked like a stranger wearing her face. I stepped back, my voice calm. "Not anymore." She rolled her eyes and turned away. but behind her, her boyfriend Mark froze mid-step. He'd heard everything. Later that night, my phone buzzed. A text from Mark. "You deserve better. Also, she's lying about something big." My heart pounded. "Something big?" I replied, "What do you mean?" He sent back, "Meet me tomorrow after work. I'll show you." I set my phone down, unable to sleep. Outside, the city lights flickered against the window. Whatever he knew, it was the missing piece I hadn't seen yet, and I was ready to know everything. We met at a small cafe near my office. Mark looked tired, his eyes shadowed. He slid an envelope across the table. Inside were printed documents, late payment notices, old leases, and one shocking car loan form. He said quietly, "Sophie owes thousands. She got evicted from her last place for unpaid rent. That's why she needed you. She couldn't get approved anywhere." I flipped through the papers, my stomach twisting tighter. At the bottom of one form, I saw my own name. "She used me as her guarantor," I whispered. Mark nodded. "She forged your signature. She told me you agreed to help." My throat felt dry. "Why are you telling me this?" He sighed. "Because she's been lying to everyone, including me. I'm done covering for her." When I got home, Sophie was lounging on the couch, scrolling through her phone. She smiled as if nothing had happened. "How was your day?" I stared at her, the lies fresh in my mind. Opening." She frowned, sensing the shift, but not understanding yet. I went to my room, closed the door, and sat on the bed. Tomorrow, I would confront her one last time, on my terms. I waited until Saturday morning. Sunlight streamed through the curtains as Sophie made coffee, humming off-key. I laid the documents on the counter. "What's this?" she asked. "The truth," I said. "Your debts, your eviction, the car loan with my name forged." Her smile vanished. "You went through my stuff?" "I talked to your boyfriend." She froze, then exploded. "How dare you? You're trying to ruin me because you're jealous. You always have been." Her voice rose until she was nearly shouting. Tears came next, loud, dramatic sobs. "I was just trying to build something for us. You're making me the villain." I stayed silent. Her crying turned into anger again. "You think you're so perfect? Go live somewhere else if you're so independent." She pointed at the door like she was banishing me. For a moment, I almost cried too. Not from sadness, but relief. The mask had finally slipped. I picked up my bag. "Fine," I said. "That's exactly what I'll do." Her mouth opened to say more, but I walked past her, out into the sharp morning air. The door slammed behind me. It sounded like freedom. I spent the night on my coworker Mia's couch. Her living room smelled like lavender candles and laundry detergent. I couldn't sleep, but for the first time in weeks, my chest didn't feel so tight. Mia handed me tea in the morning. "You okay?" "I'm getting there," I said. After she left for work, I opened my laptop. I'd been saving money for months. I finally had enough for a place of my own. I searched for apartments, filled out applications, and attached my credit report. By afternoon, my phone buzzed. "Application approved. Move-in ready next week." I stared at the message in disbelief. I had done it. No sister's name, no drama, just mine. When I packed my few boxes from Sophie's apartment, she didn't say a word. She watched with cold eyes as I loaded them into my car. At Mia's that night, I lay awake thinking about everything Sophie had said, how she called me weak, jealous, and dependent. Maybe I used to be, but not anymore. I looked at my phone, the new lease email still open. For the first time in years, I smiled without guilt. Tomorrow, I would get my keys and start over. My new apartment smelled like fresh paint and freedom. The walls were pale gray, the floor smooth under my bare feet. There were no pictures yet, no furniture except for my bed and a desk.
but it felt like peace. I opened the blinds, letting sunlight flood the room. The city outside buzzed softly, distant and safe. Sophie hadn't called since I left. I guess she expected me to crawl back, but she didn't know me anymore. That evening, I sat at my desk and wrote an email to Mr. Bell, attaching all my rent receipts and screenshots of my transfers to Sophie. I explained everything clearly, how she had collected money but never paid the landlord. Within an hour, he replied, "Thank you, Miss Evans. We'll review this immediately." I leaned back, heart racing. It wasn't revenge. It was truth. As the sun dipped below the skyline, I unpacked my last box. Books, photos, pieces of a life I was rebuilding. Then my phone buzzed with a new email from Mr. Bell. "We'll be sending Miss Brown a notice regarding unpaid balance." I stared at the words until they blurred. It had begun. The next day, I got another email, Mr. Bell confirming that Sophie had received the eviction notice. That evening, my doorbell rang. When I opened it, Sophie stood there, eyes red, face flushed. She looked furious. "You ruined me!" I stayed calm. "No, you ruined yourself. I just told the truth." She stepped closer, trembling. "You've always hated me. You can't stand that I'm the one people like." I folded my arms. "People liked the person you pretended to be." For a second, her anger cracked into panic. "Where will I go?" She whispered. "That's not my responsibility anymore." Her jaw tightened. "You'll regret this." She turned and stomped down the hall, slamming the elevator button hard enough to echo. When the doors closed behind me, I felt something loosen inside. Not joy, just relief. I closed my door and leaned against it, breathing in the quiet. The kind of quiet that meant safety. But somewhere deep down, I knew Sophie wasn't finished. And I was right.
And I was right. It started with whispers again. People messaging me, "Did you really steal Sophie's apartment?" Then came her new posts, carefully worded, tearful captions. "Sometimes people you trust betray you for a few likes. I'm heartbroken." Comments poured in. "Stay strong, Sophie. She deserves better." I almost replied but stopped myself. Let her speak. The truth would surface soon. A few days later, Mr. Bell called. "Miss Evans, I thought you should know. Sophie asked to appeal the eviction. We showed her the signed lease under your name. She didn't have a response." That night, I sat at my desk, staring at my quiet phone. For so long, I'd tried to defend myself, to prove I wasn't what people said. Now I realized I didn't need to. The facts spoke for themselves. Sophie could twist words, but she couldn't twist paperwork. When I went to bed, I slept deeper than I had in months. Outside, the world was still full of noise, but in my small apartment, silence had become my armor. A week later, the proof went public. The building's management posted a legal notice online. Tenant of record, Lena Evans. Unauthorized occupant, Sophie Brown. Eviction confirmed. Screenshots spread fast. People who had believed Sophie's story began tagging each other. Wait, she lied? Didn't she say her sister forged documents? By the weekend, Sophie's social accounts started to go quiet. Her followers dropped. The same people who had cheered for her before now posted vague quotes about truth always coming out. I didn't comment or share anything. I just watched it all unfold from my couch sipping tea. For once, the storm wasn't mine to weather. When Mia came over that evening, she grinned. "Guess karma's real, huh?" I smiled faintly. I don't know about karma, but honesty eventually wins. We clinked mugs together, and for a moment the laughter felt light, not cruel like Sophie's parties, but genuine. I glanced around my apartment, still half empty, but finally safe. The walls didn't echo anymore. They absorbed peace. For the first time, I felt free enough to breathe. I hadn't planned to post anything. It just happened. That night, I sat in my quiet living room, soft music playing, candles flickering. The light caught the new plant I'd bought for the corner. It looked alive, hopeful, like me. I took out my phone and recorded a short clip for my private friends group. The video showed the sunlight spilling across my small kitchen and the neat stack of boxes I'd finally unpacked. My voice was soft as I said, "Sometimes peace looks like your own space and silence." I hit share, closed my phone, and forgot about it. By morning, the video had spread. Friends shared it, then strangers. Thousands of comments poured in. "Wow, this hit me. I just left a toxic situation too. This piece feels sacred." I blinked at the screen in disbelief. I hadn't even mentioned Sophie, but people connected to the feeling. Then, deep in the comments, I saw one line that made my stomach drop. Wait, is this about Sophie Brown? Someone had recognized her name. And suddenly, my quiet post wasn't private anymore. By that evening, my phone was buzzing nonstop. Messages, mentions, DMs, people asking questions, making guesses. Then Sophie texted, "Sophie, take it down now." Me, "It's not about you unless you think it is." Her reply came in seconds. "You're trying to destroy me." I put the phone face down. I hadn't said a word about her. She destroyed her own image. That night, I got another message, this one from someone unexpected, Sophie's ex-boyfriend, Marco. He wrote, "I know what she did to you. People need to see who she really is." Before I could respond, he sent screenshots, pages of messages Sophie had written behind my back. She'd called me lazy, pathetic, obsessed with her success. She even told people I'd begged her to let me stay. Marco added, "I'm sorry I didn't say anything earlier. She lied to me too." I read every word slowly, my throat tightening. Sophie had built her entire image on lies. And now, her own past was about to pull them apart. By the next day, Marco's screenshots were everywhere. He hadn't leaked them publicly. He'd just shown them to one person who couldn't keep quiet. Within hours, the post spread across social media. People compared Sophie's stories with my old emails and her eviction notice. The puzzle pieces lined up too perfectly to deny. Comment sections filled with disbelief. She lied about everything? That poor sister. Imagine humiliating family for clout. I didn't comment, I didn't post, I just stayed silent and watched. By nightfall, Sophie's profiles were locked, her old posts vanished, but screenshots never disappear. Mia texted me, "Your silence says more than any caption could." She was right. I didn't need revenge. Truth was doing the work. The next morning, a mutual friend called. "Hey, Sophie's company saw everything. HR called her in. It's bad." I sat down, my knees suddenly weak. I'd imagined her embarrassed, not this. But deep down, I knew. Actions always come due. And Sophie's bill had finally arrived. 2 days later, Mom called, voice trembling. "Lena, please, can't you forgive her?" I frowned. Forgive her for what exactly? She lost her job. They said it was misconduct. She's crying nonstop. She says you ruined her life. I stared out the window at the city below. I didn't ruin anything. I just stopped protecting her. Mom sniffled. "She's still your sister." "Maybe," I said quietly, "but that doesn't mean she gets to keep hurting me." That evening, I got a knock at my door. When I opened it, Sophie stood there, mascara streaking down her cheeks, hair tangled, eyes red. She looked smaller somehow. "Please," she whispered, voice breaking, "I have nowhere to go." I froze. Memories rushed back, her laughter at the party, her lies, the comments that had mocked me. Part of me wanted to shut the door. The other part remembered being desperate myself. I stepped aside slowly. One night, that's it. Her shoulders slumped in relief. Thank you. But deep down, I wasn't sure if I'd made another mistake. I gave her a blanket, some food, and clear rules. I said, no lies,
No recording, no drama, no pretending. One night. You leave in the morning. Sophie nodded quickly, eyes wide. Of course. She sat on the couch, silent for a while. I almost thought she'd changed, but then her phone buzzed, again and again. She kept glancing at it, wiping tears that seemed rehearsed. When I went to refill her water, I noticed her camera propped against the pillow, the little red light blinking. My stomach turned. She was filming herself, crying, whispering about how I'd abandoned her. I took the phone, stopped the recording, and deleted it. If you need content, find someone else's story, I said quietly. Her expression twisted. You think you're better than me now? No, I said, just free. She grabbed her bag and stormed out, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the frame. For a long moment, I stood in the silence she left behind, shaking, angry, sad, relieved all at once. I didn't know it yet, but that door slam wasn't the end. It was the warning before the final storm. A week passed. I thought Sophie was finally gone. The quiet felt like healing. Then a thick envelope slid under my door one afternoon. I bent down and froze when I saw the sender, Sophie's landlord. Inside was a letter thanking me for co-signing Sophie Brown's lease. I stared at it, confused. I never signed anything. My heart pounded as I read further. The letter mentioned my name, address, even my driver's license number. She'd used everything without asking. That night, I barely slept. I went through my documents, checking for missing papers. My old ID copy was gone. One I'd left in a folder at her place months ago. She'd taken it. I called the landlord first thing in the morning. He sounded polite, but puzzled. You're the guarantor, correct? No, I said firmly. That signature isn't mine. He hesitated. Miss Evans, I think you'd better come in. I hung up, hands shaking. Sophie wasn't done after all. She hadn't just lied about rent, she'd forged my name on a legal contract. This time, it wasn't gossip or rumor. It was fraud. And I wasn't letting her twist the truth again. At the office, the landlord laid out the lease. My name was printed neatly at the bottom, followed by a signature that looked close, but not quite. The loops were wrong. The spacing was off. That's not me, I said quietly. She copied my signature from another document. He frowned. We suspected something. The paperwork felt inconsistent. I pulled out my ID, showing the real signature. The difference was clear. He nodded slowly. We'll have to report this. On the way home, my phone buzzed. A text from Sophie. Don't react. It was just paperwork. You owe me anyway. I stared at her words until they blurred. You owe me? That night, I gathered every file, old emails, screenshots, texts, everything that proved what she'd done. I made copies, labeled folders, and wrote a short, calm note for the authorities. For the first time, I wasn't afraid of her. I was just tired. Tired of lies. Tired of being the sister who stayed quiet. By morning, my decision was made. I hit send on the report.
No turning back. It didn't take long. Within a week, an investigator contacted me. They verified the documents and compared handwriting samples. The conclusion was clear. Sophie had forged my signature. They thanked me for cooperating, assuring me I'd done nothing wrong. You're the victim here, Miss Evans, the investigator said. Hearing those words felt strange. For so long, I'd blamed myself for everything, for trusting her, for not speaking sooner, for letting her twist the truth. But now, finally, someone saw it plainly. Sophie tried to text again. Sophie, they're making this a big deal. Please tell them I had your permission. Me, I won't lie for you. Her reply came minutes later. Sophie, you've destroyed me. I didn't answer. Some things no longer needed a reply. 2 days later, the landlord messaged me. "Thank you for your help. The matter is being handled. You're fully cleared." I read it twice before letting out a long breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. Sophie had finally run out of ways to twist my name, and I had finally reclaimed it. The official notice came through the mail. Sophie Brown was fined for fraud and barred from renting under anyone else's name for 5 years. The letter felt heavy in my hands. Justice, plain and simple. Later that evening, my phone lit up again. "Sophie, you've ruined my life. Happy now?" I typed slowly. Me. "No, I'm not happy you're hurting. I'm just done letting you hurt me." Then I blocked her number. A week later, the story resurfaced online, this time from people who'd followed everything since the housewarming. They shared the full truth. The fake posts, the eviction, the forged lease. Comments flooded in. She got what she deserved. Proud of Lena for standing up for herself. This story feels like closure. I didn't add a thing. I just scrolled through quietly, letting the words wash over me. For once, I wasn't defending, explaining, or hiding. I was simply living my life, free, safe, and finally seen for who I really was. Months passed, seasons changed. My apartment filled slowly with life, plants, books, laughter from friends. The walls that once felt empty now felt like home. One bright morning, I received a letter from the management office. Lease renewal. Tenant, Lena Evans. Only my name. No shadows beside it. I sat at my kitchen table, sunlight spreading across the paper, and signed with a steady hand. Afterward, I made tea and opened the balcony door. The city hummed below, but my world felt still, peaceful. I thought about everything that had happened. The party, the humiliation, the whispers, the heartbreak. For years, I'd tried to earn Sophie's approval, to keep the family peace no matter the cost. But peace isn't pretending, it's protecting yourself. I looked at my reflection in the window, calm, certain, whole. Maybe one day Sophie would change, maybe not. Either way, I'd stopped waiting for her to.